and welcome to the first video in my Self-Publishing 101 course. My name is Nakari Griffiths. I'm the author of 3 fiction books, 2 thrillers and 1 fantasy. And in this course, I'm going to be teaching you everything that I know about self-publishing from my time in the industry. This course is going to have somewhere between 6 and 10 videos. I can't say exactly how many at this stage because I'm still writing the end of the course, but I wanted to put this course onto YouTube for free instead of putting it on somewhere like Teachable or Patreon for the time being, just to really get a feel for who is out there and wanting to gain such information. This course will have material to go along with it, such as contact lists, worksheets and more, and those things will be on my Patreon for a small fee. I do also have a lot of other useful information on there. It is a month-by-month basis, so if you don't like what you find on there, you can unsubscribe at any time. That being said, I may move this course at some point to Patreon or Teachable or somewhere similar to that. So watch all these videos while you can. To make sure you don't miss any, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. Now let's get into the course. So the first topic in this course I'm going to talk about is setting up an author business and why that is so important as a self-published author. Starting up an author business is a really important detail if you are planning on self-publishing your books. Now there are many different reasons for this. One being tax reasons, one being looking professional, amongst a bunch of other reasons. But I would suggest for everyone to either register as a sole trader or register a publishing company. Now, this does not mean that you have to go out and publish other people's books by any means. It's just a way to ensure that you are covered with everything to do with legal things and tax, and it just makes you look professional overall. It also sets you apart from someone who is doing a hobby. And since you're intending to make money, that is a big reason to do this. So first of all, I'm going to tell you about how and why you should become a sole trader. So if you want to become a sole trader, this is pretty much someone who is working for themselves. And this fits an author perfectly because a sole trader can work with other people and take on clients such as editors, formatters, cover designers, anything like that would be a client. But you would need to be a sole trader, again, for tax purposes, and so you can write things off, basically just to cover yourself. And basically make sure that you're not just doing this as a hobby, because that can damage you later on down the track. If you wanted to start up a publishing company, this is a really great idea for anyone, and it gives you a bunch of options. So you can either just publish your own books, or you can publish other people's books, or you may just want to publish your own for now and then later down the road publish other people's books, which is something that I'm personally thinking about. So this is something you need to figure out if you want to do. Now, if you want to be a sole trader and have a publishing company, you can register as a sole trader and then just register a business name, which would be your publishing company. So you don't necessarily need to register a business because that's a whole other thing and a lot goes into that. You would probably want to talk to an accountant about that. So I'm not going to give advice on that, but what I have done is the latter. So I am a sole trader who has registered a business name. And as a sole trader in Australia, you can actually register several business names under one sole trader. This is really easy and cheap to do, and they usually last you about 10 years. Sometimes they last about 3. It depends what plan you pick. I will leave all the information and the links to the Australian government website and all of that stuff, as well as some information on other governments in different countries for the same thing. And that will all be in the document that is on my Patreon. Now I'm going to talk to you about some of the reasons why you may want to start up a publishing company. I'm reading this off my iPad, so I may look down once or twice. So number 1 is it makes you look professional and it opens up a lot of windows. If you start a publishing company, you can have a logo, you can have a publishing name, and this goes on your book. This is the number 1 thing that makes you look professional. So if someone picks up your book in a bookstore, a physical copy, one of the first things that they notice is the publisher logo on the side or the back, usually both. In saying that, there are some bookstores that will take on self-published books such as Barnes & Noble through Ingram Spark, and others that I have compiled a contact list of on my Patreon in Australia, but I am increasing that list day by day and I am expanding it to overseas bookstores as well. That has been a really helpful thing for me. Anyway, in saying that, they won't take your book seriously if you don't have a publishing logo on there. So in my experience, when bookstores have said yes, they will take on my book, they want to have a copy to have a look at first and decide if it's something they would want to stock in their store. And that is one of the things that they always look at. So you can also approach a bookstore as your publishing house, which also gives you a bigger shot. I'm not saying to lie and pretend that you're this big company or anything, but it really does help to have that behind you, and it just looks a lot more professional, and bookstores will pick up your book over a book that does not have a logo on it. Now, next, to go hand in hand with that, you might have heard of Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark is a website that has like hundreds of different contacts with bookstores and libraries, and it's also a print-on-demand book printing company. So Ingram Spark is a very good contact to have. They are basically the only place like this, and they will not take your book on unless you are represented by a publishing company and you put your business number in there. So if you're in Australia, this would be an ABN. So this is a big reason as well to have a publishing company. Another reason is when your ebooks are sold on Apple or KDP or anywhere like that, if you don't put your publishing house name in the book setup, then it will come up as your name for the publisher, which instantly tells people you're self-published and instantly makes you look kind of unprofessional. You can't charge as much for your books. Whereas if your book is under a publishing company name, it's alongside all the other traditional published books and you can charge more for your books, and it just overall looks better on your part. Now, moving on to publishing other people's books. So if this is something you want to do, you can do that if you have a publishing company and you know how to use vendors such as Draft2Digital, KDP, Google Play. So if you know how to use places like that and you can distribute people's books wide, then you can publish other people's books. But in saying that, there are other things you need to consider. You would need to have an accountant, a lawyer for legal purposes, obviously. You would need to have money to give someone a down payment. Although I've started noticing there are some indie publishers popping up that do not do this. But there are many benefits to publishing other people's books. One of them being that you get a big chunk of the author's royalties. Typically this happens if you give them a down payment and then they pay you back in their royalties until they paid you back the amount. So say you pay them $10,000, until you have been paid back that $10,000 or an advance. Until you've been paid back that money for the advance that you gave them, you get all of their royalties. Now they may never make that kind of money, so it could be a big risk, or they could make more than that, and then once they paid you back, say you get 40% of their royalties and they get 60 or something along those lines. But you definitely need a lawyer to figure out contracts and things like that, but that is another way that you could go. Another thing that you need to consider if you are going down this route, publishing other books, is do you have contacts such as cover designers, editors? Do you know a lot about marketing books? Do you have a company logo? You need to register your company as a company rather than as a sole trader with a business name. Which leads me to the point of asking yourself the question, do you you want to publish other people's books or just your own? So that is all for this video. Now I actually do have a video on how to start up a publishing company, so I will put the link for that in the description box and in the cards. And in the next video I will be discussing what is actually involved in an author business and how to manage your time. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. It really helps my channel out a lot, and I am aiming to put out one of these videos every week. Really hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in my next video.